Welcome to Midlife Ala Bahare. If your life looks successful on paper but feels different on the inside, you're in the right place. Here, we explore identity, clarity, fulfillment, and how to live more truthfully inside the life you've built. Follow the show to stay connected to the conversation. You may know this feeling. You get something you once wanted. Maybe you reach a goal, complete something important, get recognition, or maybe life becomes more stable in a way you used to hope for. And for a moment, it feels good. You feel relief. You feel pride. Maybe a quiet sense of, okay, I did it. And then, much sooner than you expected, the feeling fades. The thing you thought would feel satisfying starts to feel normal. And the success becomes part of the background. The milestone becomes maintenance. And then this private confusion shows up. Why doesn't this feel better? Why did the feeling disappear so quickly? Why am I already thinking about the next thing? Why can't I just enjoy what I worked so hard to build? And then, right after that, guilt may come in. Because you're not ungrateful. You know what you have. You know what it took. You know that part of your life may look very solid from the outside. So you may tell yourself, I should be happier. Other people would be grateful for this. Maybe I'm just impossible to satisfy. But I want to slow that down today. Because sometimes success starts feeling emotionally flat, not because you're ungrateful, and not because the success was meaningless. Sometimes it feels flat because success has already done the job it was originally meant to do. Maybe it was to give you proof, stability, confidence, or a sense of identity. Maybe it gave you options. And all of that was important. But now you may be asking success to give you something much deeper. Like meaning, peace, enoughness, a sense of connection to your own life. A feeling that what you're doing still matters to you, not just that it works. And success alone can't always do that. That is what we are talking about today. Not giving up your ambition, or dismissing your achievements, or pretending that success does not matter. This is about what happens when the emotional reward of success starts getting shorter, thinner, and quieter than it used to be, and what that may be asking you to notice. This is a very real pattern for high-achieving people. You work towards something, you get there, you feel better for a moment, then your mind moves the finish line. Now there's another level, another marker, another thing to improve, another reason not to pause. And because you're used to moving, you may not even question it. You may call it drive, high standards, being disciplined, and sometimes it is. There is nothing wrong with wanting to grow. There is nothing wrong with having standards or caring about excellence. But there is a difference between pursuing something because it feels alive and meaningful and pursuing something because you do not know how to feel okay without the next thing to chase. Healthy ambition has energy in it. It feels connected to something true. It may require effort, but it does not feel hollow. Automatic ambition, however, feels quite different. It has pressure in it. It sounds like I can't stop now. If I'm not moving forward, I'm falling behind. If I'm not achieving, what am I doing? If I don't have the next thing, who am I? That is when success can start to feel emotionally flat. Not because success itself is empty, but because it is being asked to carry too much, to prove your worth, to calm your anxiety, to create identity. It is being asked to give you permission to rest and to make you feel enough. And frankly, that is all too much weight for achievement to carry. You may have had this experience in very ordinary ways. You finally finish something that has been taking up a lot of mental space, and instead of feeling satisfied, you mostly feel relieved that it is over. You receive a kind message, a compliment, or some positive feedback. You appreciate it for a second, and then your mind immediately goes to what still needs work. You reach a financial, personal, creative, or life milestone that once felt far away. And within a short time, it no longer feels special. It just becomes the new normal. You create more comfort or stability, and instead of feeling free, you start managing the comfort, maintaining it, protecting it, measuring what comes next. This is the part people often don't say out loud. Sometimes the thing you worked for becomes another thing to maintain. And that can feel disappointing because when you were reaching for it, you imagined arrival would feel different. You imagined it would feel like peace or satisfaction or confidence or finally being able to exhale. But often, what success gives first is relief. And relief is not the same as fulfillment. Relief says, the pressure is lower now. Fulfillment says, this is connected to what matters. Relief says, I got through it. Fulfillment says, this feels meaningful to me. Relief is real. Relief can be very important, my friends. But if most of your success only gives you relief and not much meaning, eventually success starts feeling flat because relief fades quickly. The pressure drops, your system adjusts, and then you need another success to feel relief again. That is the loop. Achieve, feel relief, adapt, feel neutral, look for the next thing. This doesn't mean you're shallow or not satisfied. It simply means that achievement has become your main way of regulating your inner life. And that is a very different relationship with success that is worth noticing. If you want to think about this gently, when you achieve something, do you actually receive it? Or do you move past it almost immediately? Do you let it land? Or do you turn it into the next standard? Do you allow yourself to feel proud? Or does your mind go straight to yes, but? Yes, but it could have been better. Yes, but it took too long. Yes, but other people have done more. Yes, but now I have to maintain it. Yes, but what is next? If everything becomes yes, but, satisfaction has nowhere to land. And when satisfaction has nowhere to land, success becomes emotionally thin. You may keep collecting outcomes, but they don't become nourishing experiences. They simply become evidence. Evidence that you're capable, progressing, and still doing well. But my friends, evidence expires quickly when your inner life is built around proving. You proved it yesterday. What about today? You succeeded before. What about now? You were impressive then. Are you still? And this is very exhausting. And it makes sense that success would start to feel flat because no success is allowed to be enough for long. It is only allowed to be temporary proof. I want you to imagine someone who's worked hard for years to create a stable life. This person could be you. They finally have some of what they once wanted. More security, more choice, more comfort, a strong sense of being established. And that is quite meaningful. After a while, they notice something strange. The stability is there, but aliveness is not. They're not unhappy in a dramatic way. They're not in crisis. They're not rejecting what they built. They simply realize, this is good, but it doesn't give me the feeling I thought it would. Or imagine someone who has always been praised for being capable. They reach another goal, people say that's amazing, and they smile, they appreciate it. But internally, it barely touches them. Not because they don't care, but because some part of them has already moved on to the next measurement, the next expectation, the next thing that might finally feel like enough. Or imagine someone who's finally got a quiet day after a demanding season. They thought they would feel peaceful, but instead they feel restless. Because without the next thing to push toward, they're left with a question they have been avoiding. What actually feels meaningful to me now? This question is much harder than setting another goal. Goals can be clear. Meaning is more honest. Goals can be measured. Meaning has to be felt. Goals can be approved by other people. Meaning requires you to listen to yourself. And this is where many high-achieving people start to feel very uncomfortable. Because they're so used to asking what's next, what needs to be done, what would make sense, what would show progress. But emotional flatness asks a different type of question. What is this all for now? Not what it was before. This is very important to understand because success has a different job in different seasons of life. At one stage, success may be about proof. You need to prove to yourself that you can do it. At another stage, success may be about stability. You want ground under your feet. At another stage, success may be about identity. You're building a sense of who you are. But later in life, the same version of success may not feed you in the same way because it completed its purpose. Something can be meaningful for one chapter and not enough for the next. Something can matter deeply and still lose emotional change over time. Something can be worth respecting without being worth organizing your whole inner life around. This is development, my friends. And at midlife, this becomes especially relevant. Because by this stage, many people have already achieved enough to see the limits of achievement. You may have enough evidence that you are capable. You may have enough proof that you can build. You may have enough experience to know that another external marker will not automatically create peace. So the question changes. It is no longer only can I succeed. It becomes what kind of success still feels meaningful. That is a more mature question, isn't it? I know. It may feel strange at first because it is less about more and more about truth. This is why it is very important to acknowledge before you set the next goal. Acknowledge what is happening. Acknowledge that the wind does not land the way it used to. Acknowledge that emotional return has changed. That you may be looking for meaning in something that can only give you proof. That your ambition may need recalibration, not abandonment. You don't have to stop wanting or growing or pretend that ambition is bad, but you may need a cleaner relationship with it. One that is less about proving and more about choosing. Less about pressure and more about meaning. Less about what will make me look successful and more about what will feel true to build. That shift is subtle, but it changes everything. Because when success is no longer responsible for proving your worth, you can relate to it differently. You can pursue it more honestly. You can enjoy it more cleanly. You can let it serve your life instead of becoming the center of your identity. And this is where enough becomes important. For a lot of high achievers, enough can feel suspicious. Enough can feel settling, like losing your edge, like becoming less ambitious. But enough is not the opposite of ambition, my friends. Enough what makes ambition healthier. Without enough, ambition becomes hunger. With enough, ambition becomes choice. You can still build, care, and grow, but you're no longer chasing every success marker as if it has to rescue you from feeling incomplete. This is a completely different way of living. So let me ask you a few questions, not to answer perfectly, just to notice. What kind of success used to feel satisfying to you, but now feels emotionally neutral? What used to give you a sense of pride, but now barely lands? What did that success used to give you? Proof, safety, identity, relief, a feeling of being enough? And do you still need the same thing in the same way? Or is there a more direct way to meet that need now? For example, if success used to give you relief, maybe the deeper need is less pressure. If success used to give you identity, maybe the deeper need is to know who you are beyond what you achieve. If success used to give you enoughness, maybe the deeper need is to stop treating enoughness as something you can only earn after the next result. And if success used to give you stability, maybe the deeper need now is meaning, connection, or freedom inside that stability. If you need to pause to answer these questions, please do so before you continue. Because this is not about making a dramatic change, my friends. It is about becoming more precise. If you're vaguely dissatisfied, you can be stuck. But if you're precisely honest, you can get something to work with. So here's a practical exercise for this week. Choose one success marker you're currently chasing or maintaining or measuring yourself by. Just one. It could be a goal, a standard, a number, a level of recognition, the next job, a version of progress, an image of who you think you should be. And then I want you to ask yourself, what am I expecting this to make me feel? And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. Maybe the answer is to feel secure, respected, proud, free, enough, less anxious, more in control, finally settled. Whatever it is, be honest. Then ask yourself, is this success marker actually capable of giving me that feeling in a lasting way? Whatever the feeling is that you're seeking. Maybe yes, maybe partial, maybe no. And if the answer is no, it means you can stop asking the wrong thing to meet the right need. If the need is peace, another achievement may not give it to you. If you want connection, another milestone may not give it to you. If enoughness is important, another external marker is not going to help. If you want meaning, the next success has to be connected to meaning, not just the momentum. Then I want you to choose one small action that meets the deeper need more directly. You want peace? Create one small pocket of peace without earning it first. If you need connection, have one honest conversation. If the need is to be enough, practice not raising the bar immediately after you meet one. If you want meaning, connect one part of your effort to a value, not just an outcome. And if you want freedom, make one small choice this week based on truth, not just what looks successful. Take something small, be specific, make it real, and that's enough. Because the goal here is not to fix your whole relationship with success in 1 week. The goal is to interrupt the automatic loop where you achieve, feel the relief, adapt, feel flat, seek more achievement. I want you to interrupt it by asking yourself, what am I really asking success to give me? Is there a more honest way to meet that need? This is your work. Notice where the wind no longer lands. Notice where you are chasing relief and calling it fulfillment. Notice where the next goal may be covering an older need. And before you chase the next marker, pause and ask yourself, what did the last success fail to give me? Not in a bad way or a bitter way or a blaming way, just pure honesty. Because that answer may show you what you're actually hungry for. Maybe you don't need more proof. Maybe you need more meaning. Maybe you don't need more visible success, but peace. Maybe you don't need to become more impressive. Maybe you need a more honest definition of enough. Success can be beautiful, my friends, but it is not meant to replace self-knowledge. And when success starts feeling emotionally flat, it may not be a sign that something is wrong. It may simply mean that your relationship with success is ready to mature. The success may still be real. It may still deserve respect. It may still be part of your life. But it may no longer be enough to recognize your whole inner life around. Maybe that is freedom, because when success is no longer responsible for proving your worth, you can let it take its rightful place as an expression of a meaningful life, not the whole meaning. And that is where alignment begins. Peace out. This podcast reflects my own views and is provided for general information, education, and entertainment purposes only. It is not professional advice of any kind. Please seek qualified professional support for your specific situation.